hands and wailed as if her entire world had collapsed. My instinct was to walk on, to put my head down and to leave her alone. Whatever had upset her was none of my business. And besides, what could I do? I had enough problems of my own, and I was hardly qualified to offer emotional support to anyone else. But how could I leave her? The woman was in obvious distress, and now I'd seen her, I couldn't pretend I hadn't. "Hello?" I said, taking half a cautious step closer. "Is everything okay?" Her head jolted up. She blinked into the gathering darkness, eventually picking me out, staring at me with wide, wet eyes. I could see she'd once been an attractive woman, but her beauty had waned, stolen by too much sun and the cruel advance of the years. Her hair was cut short in a smart bob, coloured like a burnt sunset, and around her throat she wore a stunning necklace set with emeralds and diamonds that looked totally inappropriate for the beach. As I approached, slowly, like she was liable to bolt at any moment, she stopped crying and watched me cautiously, dabbing the tears from her eyes with a screwed-up tissue in her fist. She slipped off the rock, her movements slow and precise, as if she were wary I might pounce. "I didn't mean to startle you," I said. "I thought I heard you crying. Is there anything I can do?" "No, it's nothing, I'm fine, thank you," she muttered, stooping to pick up her handbag, but knocking it over in her haste, spilling its contents across the sand. She clawed frantically for her things, scratching around with blood-red painted fingernails, while never once taking her frightened eyes off me. Then, after straightening her dress, she scurried away, heading in the direction I'd come towards the 2 wartime pillboxes that had collapsed onto the beach from the top of the receding cliffs. She marched with purpose, stumbling in her hurry, not exactly running, but not hanging around either. She never once looked back. I shrugged. Some people could be so rude. Was I really that scary? Maybe I ought to go easier on the eyeliner and do something with my hair. It was only when the woman had become a speck in the distance that I spotted she'd left something by the rock where she'd been sitting. Something small, flat and black. I brushed the sand off it and discovered it was a notebook, no bigger than a tobacco tin, with a faux leather cover, its pages secured with a thin strap of elastic. "Hey!" I yelled. "You left this behind!" But the woman had already vanished into the dark shadows. I waited for a response, hoping the wind might have carried my voice further than I could see. But there was no reply beyond the hissing surf and the lonely screech of a bird. I turned my attention to the book, wondering what I'd found. An address book, maybe? I knew that some people who distrusted smartphones still liked to write down names, numbers and addresses. Or was it something else? There was only one way to find out. I peeled it open and flicked through the lined pages filled with dense rows of scrawled handwriting, the thin cream paper indented where the author had pressed too hard. At the top of one page was a date in capital letters, underlined. My heart raced faster. A diary. A little black book chronicling someone's deepest, darkest thoughts and feelings. My fingers tingled with excitement at what scandalous secrets and lurid gossip it might contain, but in the low light, all I could pick out was the odd, meaningless phrase here and there. Nothing juicy, especially as the tiny handwriting was difficult to decipher. With my pulse galloping, I snapped the diary shut. I shouldn't be looking. A diary was private, personal. I had no right to read it. It was voyeuristic and perverse. How would I like it if someone had read my diary? Not that I kept one these days. My cheeks burned with shame. I shoved it into the bottom of my bag, appalled by my lack of self-control. As I rushed home, my mind was in turmoil. I knew it was wrong to have looked, but it didn't quell the temptation to read more.